there's a way that I look that makes me feel good about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mostly to maintain my shape for myself.
Mm.
I don't actually really like the gym that much.
Yeah, and that's cool to admit. Okay, so tonight you have Jennifer Katsev with us. We will get to know you. So let's just get into it, okay?
Okay.
We always start with one question, and that is like, how were you as a teenager? Like, what were you dealing with? What worked for you? What didn't work? How was, if you go back in the days, how was life for you at that time? So maybe you can
That,
also tell us where you're from and stuff like that, so we get a little,
yeah.
background.
So as you can hear from my accent, I'm American. Well, I'm Chinese American. So both of my parents left China right after it reopened after communism.
Mm-hmm.
And I was born there. I was raised in the Silicon Valley in the Bay Area. So just to give you an idea, my high school, when people think California, they think of white Americans. My high school was 80% Asian. 40% were Chinese, and the other 40% were Indian because we were the children of tech workers, people who
Mm.
immigrated from their countries to get high tech careers. And so my parents' generation were a bunch of people who fled their home countries that had maybe not very good conditions. Like in my case, it was communist China, right? So these parents had to be the best of their class, the best of their local cities, maybe even in the country, to have a shot at getting accepted to a good university in America, and especially a good job at a good tech company in the Bay Area. So we are the children of these hyper ambitious parents who never want their kids to go through the same pain that they went through so
Mm-hmm.
they can live a better lives. So you can imagine we're under intense academic pressure,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I was just sharing this with a friend today, actually. I do this thing where the guiltier I make myself, the more I think I'm gonna take action. And it's very like not healthy behavior. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was looking at it with a friend today who is also in Landmark, the personal development program that I know
Mm-hmm.
you through your name.
Yeah.
Um, and I discovered it's because growing up in my friend circle, whoever was the most depressed, it was kind of cool to be depressed. Like,
Really?
oh, you're suffering. Well, I'm suffering more.
Oh, okay.
And
It was like a competition.
yeah. And if
Okay.
I wasn't depressed, then it was like, well, there's something wrong with you. Like, you have it good. And it was something that was kind of not cool.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of weird. The second part is I didn't have much of a social life. Like I had so much homework and studying and extracurricular, more studying over the summers. You don't study because you're behind. You
Mm-hmm.
go to tutoring to get ahead so you're guaranteed an A the next year in your courses.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
Um, and
okay.
then in terms of my friends, I had a group of girlfriends who would always gossip and just do things behind each other's backs. So I never had really I never really knew what it was to have a good friendship until much later in my life,
Mm.
actually, because I just didn't have examples of it. And we were always being compared to each other, whether it's between ourselves or even our parents. Literally, you have parents together at a party and the kids are right there. And
Mm.
the parents are saying, I wish my kid were better at math like your kid. Oh no, but your kid is so good at piano. I wish my kid could be more like your kid. And we're the children who are listening to these conversations. So
Mm.
that's kind of a snapshot of what I was dealing with.
Yeah, and maybe we also always look a little bit behind. We want to know, like, because it's the intention of the talk show is that like people get see that you are no different than anybody else, went through some motions. And I'm always curious, actually, how was that for you, listening to the, I mean, you mentioned depressed before, but maybe that doesn't sums it all, right? How was for you seeing maybe kids who were during holidays, right, during summer, they were free, outgoing, I don't know, they went on vacation, stuff like that, and you were studying to get ahead?
I didn't.
You didn't?
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It was the environment that I lived in. All of the kids that I surrounded myself and me seeing their
Mm-hmm.
parents, like we would go on, I would see them going on very expensive vacations and not have very close, it was normal to not have friendships with your parents. That's a white people thing. Be peers and friends with your parents. With growing up Asian, it's very like respect, and parents are only parents. So I would actually say my parents were quite different. They were a lot more open-minded, a lot less judgmental. But because I saw so much of that type of parenting around me, I also created a filter that my parents are that way too. Asian parent category. And later in life, I discovered that I put that label on them. It's not completely true.
Yeah, and maybe also the part we are also interested during, you know, teenagers growing up, our body changing is like, how is your relation with the opposite sex?
So I could never talk about relationships with my parents because in my household it was very strict. Um, I don't know how open I should get on this topic.
You can get as open as you like. It's like here are no, like, you know, it's everybody who comes on my channel, they have to click that they're 18 plus. So that's it. But I mean, you know, and you can go as deep as you want. You know, that is actually the case that I want to present here. It's like, you know, what we are really dealing with, right? How life is really for us. Not that everything is candies and roses and, you know,
Yeah,
a little bit, so to speak. It's like yeah, there are real mechanisms we set up on early that drove us.
I'm almost okay. I'm gonna be courageous here.
All right.
So
Thank
my best friend moved away between middle school and high school, and starting in high school, I didn't have any very close friends. So I was introduced to two older guys. Like, you know, I was this is my second year in high school, and they were seniors. And I ended up dating one of them, and I lost my virginity to him. So I was 14 at the time. And in my school, again, a lot of kids from strict Asian households, this rumor spread that Jen is a slut. Jen's a slut, don't hang out with her. People would point at me at school and just shout slut, you know? And I lost my friends, or the ones who stayed my friends would talk about me behind my back, and it was the worst feeling ever. And I remember because this guy was older, he had a car, I would try to get off campus during lunch as much as possible so I wouldn't have to be seen. I remember eating some of my meals and like sitting on the toilet in the bathroom. And I decided after that year I was gonna change high schools or something because it was horrible. And the thing is, I didn't even love this guy. I was with him because I had no other friends and I needed some kind of validation, connection, something, you know? And I was having sex with him because that's what I thought I needed to do to stay in the relationship. So this really like tainted my relationship with sex up until very recently. I still deal with some of this where it's a tool in order to make sure that my partner never leaves me. And I would give it to people I didn't love. So yeah, I've been working on that a lot. My parents didn't allow me to switch schools. They had no idea why. My high school district is one of the best in the world, or in the nation at least. And people there buy $1 million houses to send their kids to public school. So they were like, there's no way we're changing schools. So I decided I was going to leave high school and go straight to college. In the States, they have something called community college. It's like a 2-year college. So I did my last 2 years of high school in community college. And during that time, my communication with my parents around the topic was so non-existent that I got pregnant when I was 16, and I had an abortion in the school bathroom stall. And I passed out, and my friend had to find me and like drive me somewhere and clean me up. And I never told my parents until pretty recently, actually, that this ever happened before. So yeah, I mean, sex was a really hard topic. Body changes, boys, all that stuff. It was very just, I didn't know any better.
Yeah, I know.
This is just how relationships are.
And first of all, thank you for sharing this and being so open and, strict. And I really appreciate that, because that opens, that is what happens, right? That is like, it's not like only it happened only to you, it's happening all around the globe. There are people who, you know, we all deal with situations in our own way, and we think that's the best at the time, and whatever it is, we don't even know, because we are still growing up. And if there is not somebody who you can talk to, or
Yeah.
you can, or you can at least express yourself, and it maybe get some good feedback back, it's just you're gonna deal how it supposedly works, right? So
Mhm.
in your case was like, if I don't have sex, the guy will leave me, and that comes the tool in the relationship. It's not something where you will fulfill, or whatever it might mean. But it's kind of obvious, right? And when you shared that, you did that, and the whole course was calling you slut. For me, it was like, that's typical American. That's what you see in the movies, that's presented in Hollywood movies when it's about teenagers. Somebody do something, and the whole school goes after him. And I was bullied also when I was in grammar school, but it was never that severe, like that the whole school goes after you. I mean, I cannot imagine, the emotions that you went through. So, and that you're now able to talk about it kind of gives a sense that you're complete about that, and
Yeah.
that, it's, that's just awesome. So thank you for this intro, right? So
That was just the intro.
yeah, right. Look, it's like we get into this, and then we the main point is you that through your life you show us, right, how did you find your passions, and then what is now necessary for you to live it. Due to that, there is so many people around us who are not living their passions, or they don't even know what they're passionate about, or some of them might not admit it at the first thing, thinking that's stupid. But in the end, it's your passion, so you do with it whatever you want. So that is it. But I always go from these teenage years, because we all went through a lot of emotions there and dealt with it, and it made a huge impact on our life, right? So that's why we can now cover the areas coming from a ground of that. So yeah, did you already decide when you went to the community college what direction you want to study?
Mm-mm. I was very good with my studies. At the time, I was very advanced in math. Like I had completed all my calculus courses by my junior year, and I was also doing art since I was 4 years old, winning international awards and United Nation awards, and just very into art also. So I thought maybe the best thing to do. My parents were also very like, get a good tech job or an engineering job or some kind of, my family. So my dad's side is all scientists, and my mom's side is doctors, and she's an engineer. And my dad's like a, Stanford PhD chemist. My mom has her master's in like engineering. So
Well, I mean, I can imagine, right? What you shared before, and right now, it's like there are high expectations.
very high. I'd always been a good student, and no matter what I tried, I was good at it. I was very curious and just very engaged in everything I did. So deciding what to study was actually really hard. Um, I was looking at art schools, and my parents said they were, I would say, like, not disencouraging, but more like cautious. If you study art, make sure you have a backup plan in case it doesn't work out.
All right.
So go to a school where they offer a good art program, but then also they have maybe a good science program too, like you can do a double major. So after applying to um, several schools, I got into UCLA. I chose to go to UCLA because one, it's a public school that took all of my credits. So I got to save 2 years of tuition. And it had a very, very good art program. It's actually number 4 in the country, which people don't really know about because the program only accepts 30 people a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. So I went there, and
You were accepted there.
I was accepted, and I went, like, I decided to go there. I got into number 1 and number 3 in the nation also, but they were art only schools.
Ah,
I
okay.
was, yeah. So I chose art because I thought that this is something creative and something that's not defined by my parents, and I chose it. But actually, what I discovered towards the end of art school was It's like, kids who are really, really good at piano, and the second that parents see, oh, my kid's really talented at that, like we need to make them the best concert pianist or the best artist or the best ballet dancer.
Mm.
And it doesn't become about fun and self-expression anymore. It becomes about being competitive, having something to brag about, something to be proud
Yeah,
of.
exactly. Yeah.
And so art actually became that for me. And I didn't realize that until I was in art school, and I was living it for someone else again. I was doing it to look good or to make someone proud, but it didn't resonate with me.
Mm.
So I graduated, and what I do today is, I think what I was really resentful. I didn't want to draw a single thing,
Mm.
actually. I picked up drawing again for the first time during lockdown this year, since I've graduated, which is like 5 years ago. But what I really love is being creative, and that shows up in many other ways.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, got it. And when you share that, what comes up is like, right, there is so many young people out there who are good at things, right? They're getting rewards, they're best, it's like not a single way why you wouldn't be proud of them, and
Mhm.
they're not happy and satisfied,
Exactly.
right? So there is just this recent, I think some of the friend told me, not I think it's a year or two ago, one girl did a suicide who actually was like brilliant student, a lot of awards, brilliant at her work, everything, right? Everything top notch, the top competitor, everything top. And in the end she ended like that, and it's like it comes of this, if yeah, because it's not yours, right? It's competitive. It's really, so I'm really glad that you bring this up, bring this topic that up. So but if you look back, right, what is the second thing you choose besides art, because you said you did double major?
Anthropology, which was equally as not useful in terms of getting a career job. But I was always interested in culture and
Yeah.
people and the history of humans, and so
Ah,
I went for it.
right. So
Yeah. Actually, what
yeah.
happened there was I was about to graduate when I was 20, and my
Mhm.
mom said to me, "You're too young to go live on your own. Uh, Pick something else and stay one more year in school."
So wait. You finished university at the age of 20.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to graduate when I was 19. I stayed an extra year and I graduated when I was 20. Yeah,
From university.
correct. Yeah, from four-year university with a
Yeah,
bachelor.
I mean that's extraordinary, don't you think? I
I
mean,
mean,
I know for you it seems normal, but for us it's like, we have high school until the age of 18, and
yeah.
then you go to university and you finish it faster at 21, but it's like the bachelor degree, then the new Bologna system to get a master degree, it's +2, so it's 5 years. And then if you take an extra year to write down the master thesis and stuff like that, right? It's like you don't graduate before the age of 23, 24.
Well,
So
right, but you got to get, I quit high school when I was 16 to go to community college. And the way I sold it to my parents, because I couldn't tell them about the
yeah.
slut stuff, was I can get ahead in college and take college level courses. And I sold it to them like that.
All right, yeah, I still got it, but still to be able at that age, right, to do the university topics and to deal with it, it's extraordinary. I mean, in a way, it's not how most of the people go through the motion. Let's say it's like that, right? But I have a different question, because you're from US, right? So how is it with, because we know we hear a lot about student loans, and then you're basically hooked for your entire life.
Mhm.
Um, you know, so I just want to check with you, because you were living there and have the direct experience, and it's not like reading it in an article. So it's like, how serious is that, or did it impact you in any way? It's like, how did you deal with that?
It is pretty serious. So the top private art school that I applied for and got accepted in, their tuition was like 75,000 US dollars a year.
Mm-hmm.
And they wouldn't take any of my transfer credits from community college. So I would have to do 4 years there with that tuition. Big reason why that was a no.
Mm-hmm.
I went to UCLA as a public university for California residents. We have discounted tuition. So I walked out with, I want to say like less than $20,000 of loans for 3 years of school. And I was pretty proactive about applying for grants and scholarships. Sometimes they're given to you. Like in my case, it was me, my sister, and my brother going through college at the same time. So my family got financial aid from the government. And then my dad also lost his income at that time. So just my mom's income supporting 3 kids in college, we got some good financial aid there. And then had to get really creative about scholarships because I was an art student. No art students are doing research projects. So if I apply for a research grant about art theory or something, then I was highly likely to get it. And I also applied for grants when I studied abroad, so I got to travel and study for free. But most people, like my little brother, for example, he's in college right now, and I think his tuition is like $35,000 a year. And even if you default, meaning you go bankrupt, all your other loans are wiped out, student loans are not.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, these kids are 18 years old, 19 years old. And before they even start making any money, they have to make their first big financial decision, which is like 6 figures that they have to stick with for the rest of their life. And they don't even know. Like, they don't even have a concept of money, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
It's a scam. That's my opinion. And coming out of college, the first few jobs I had, even though they were entry level, the amount of like applicable life skills and technical skills was like way more than I ever learned in a classroom. And I wish kids would know that and know which online resources can also give them the same result without all the overhead. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just thank you for that. I just really wanted to check. I know it's serious, but it's like, it's one thing to read it in the news or, online, or another thing to talk to a person who actually went through the motion and has direct insight still through your brother, like you say now. So, all right, and how did you finish college? What then? I mean, you didn't do, you obviously didn't do your passion, right, into... I mean, what would you say? Did you discover what you're passionate about by the time you finish university or not?
No.
All right, cool. No, that's great, right? Because there is a lot of, I work a lot of with teenagers, right? The high schoolers. And they're like, they're banking their heads.
Yeah.
Like what should be their passion, what the purpose in life is, right? Like because there is this huge pressure, right? When you will be 18, you will choose university, or you will go work, and that will be for the next 30, 40 years, which gladly now that's changing, right? I'm happy about it, that that is like 5 to 7 years, and then you switch jobs, and psychology support that into the terms of motivation and life endurance, life energy to be boosted in, right? But anyway, it's still, our parents are still a bit coming from that age when they were like, but I'm now 34, so it's like my parents, they're done with that, but there are younger parents who still like, go university, get a paper that will get you something. In Slovenia, luckily, university is free. There is no tuition, right? That is also that guy who is going around the world. He made What to Conquer Next. There's a documentary, I forgot his name. He wanted what to bring to America, like the good things from the world, right? So he would take from Slovenia the university system, which is actually free, except if you're irregular student. But yeah, so what I want to give here is, right, here we have Jen, who studied university at the age of 20, like university in art and anthropology. It's like you had 2 majors, right? And you still don't know what you're passionate about. And I think that is a great thing, which shows, like, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. Here she is, 6 years. You're 26, right? If I
7 now.
27, all right. 7 years later, I mean, you're still alive and smiling, right?
Smiling.
Yeah, smiling more and living in the other country. We'll get into that, right? But so what happened after university? Like, you were there, finished university, still not living your passion, so...
I was scared because up until now, I've had a roadmap. You get good grades in high school, you get into a good college, you pick your major in college, you graduate, you should get a job. Like, there was a map. I followed it, And with many other people who were in my position, oh shoot, I still don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I should take out more debt and go to grad school, and then I'll figure out what I want to do and go to more school, because that's what we're familiar with. For me, I had been interning at galleries while I was working, and I really got a sense for the art world. It was way more political than it was about making actually good art.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I didn't want to do that. And I ended up getting it was like a multi-level sales job. They hire everyone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the really great thing that I got out of that job was I got trained in systems, like a company that runs completely off of duplicatable systems. I got trained in leadership and I got exposed to entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the biggest thing was like, oh my God, I can be in control of my own time and my own income. Like that's something I was never taught before. I was always taught about getting a good paid job working for someone else at a
Mm-hmm.
big benefits, free lunch,
Yeah.
cafeteria, Google, you know?
Yeah, I got it. Yeah,
Uh,
especially in Silicon Valley, right? There is a lot of successful companies, right?
and they take good care of you. Like
Yeah.
you could literally live on the Facebook or Apple campuses, you know? Um, so entrepreneurship, being my own boss, and then that's how I got into all of the motivational stuff, you know, financial
Mm-hmm.
stuff, financial freedom, rich dad, poor dad, all that. And I became very success driven. Now, my whole life I've been driven, as you can,
Yeah.
but it was obsessive and it was about me and it was never about my team. And the way this multi-level business is structured is you only get promoted, more freedom, whatever, when your team is able to perform,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I would hire and I would train and I would do it for the measure. I never actually cared about my team. So when it came time for me to open my own branch, no one wanted to follow me.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost 15 team members just like that. And I tried to rebuild it for a little while, but I gave up.
But okay, let's stop there, right? So
Okay.
you're being successful driven. It's like there is, we could say you were, yeah, career. Like career was at the top level. Nothing else is important. Just your career measures, like you said, right? We have an expression in Slovenian. I don't know what could be in English, but it's something like careerist. So somebody who only is focused on career, and that's the main thing in life, and everything else is, if it is, it is. If it isn't, it isn't. You are willing to work 16 hours and sleep for 8 hours, and that be your day. So how did you deal with that, right? You being so career-driven, measures, you were successful, like by the all measures, right? And
Yeah.
then at one point, you want to open your own branch, nobody follows.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
It was discouraging, but I wasn't wise enough to get the lesson. So I tried it again with something else. I made the organization wrong.
All right.
I didn't debrief what was missing and who I was being.
Yeah.
So I did it again. And this happened 3 times in a row where I tried to start something and I failed because it was all about me.
So you changed jobs then, or maybe companies?
No, I actually met an art dealer and we started a business together. And I was very nasty with him. I wanted to do things my way. It was always about me. And this partnership obviously didn't work out. It didn't last long. So I left that. And then I learned how to flip paintings from this venture, buying low, selling high. And at the time, the fix this house and no money down and use other people's money and like all these house flipping TV shows were really in. So I signed up for some really expensive house flipping seminars. And again, did it all myself, blah, blah, blah. And I failed again. And I was really deep in debt this time. So that was when I had to call my mom and move home with her and actually tell her, I was really embarrassed because this is not what would have made her proud. But I'd been asking her for money on a monthly basis because I couldn't pay my rent for a few months and she knew something was going on. But I never had a relationship with my mom where I could tell her. where I felt like I could tell her. So eventually I had to move home. Yeah.
But I remember one question. So like, we know like the Asians, the Chinese, you said respect is very high, and you know, the parents is the parents, and you barely share with them your life, right? So is that like something that you would say is cultural in China? It's like because we have now also it's like that is how it is, or with most of the people there, or you know, or was that just your family?
I see examples of the opposite, but I would say in general, that is how it is. It's how the world occurred for me.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when you say Asian parent, people generally have an idea of what that looks like.
All right. Yeah, I mean, you know, we've been to Thailand for honeymoon with my wife, and it's like you see it how they respect elders. You know how it's very respectful. Everything is, and I was always wondering how much really life is in there. Right? It seems like respectful, but it's like it must be no, not because it right. You know, it's your natural self-expression, so to speak.
Right. I think it really helps society, like why China has been such a successful society over, I mean, so many years. But on the individual level, I don't know. I never had really close connection, period. So I never knew what it was like to be intimately connected with people until much later.
Yeah.
Like,
So
there was nothing missing for me because I just didn't know.
yeah, you said it like before when you said when you were growing up, right? Everything was like good grades, you know, parents were bragging with you, a lot of gossiping was going on, competition all the time. Holiday breaks during the summer were something unexistable for you, right? We were like 2 months off. It was like the best time, you know, it should be like that every day. And you were in those 2 months, you were like learning to get ahead, right?
Yeah. More course.
Yeah, in Slovenia we are like, you know, we are like that. We have 2 months off, so more or less the kids who are learning during those 2 months are the kids who, you know, failed classes and they need to do them so they cannot go to the next class. So it's like that. Yeah. By the way, Schraubstock, thank you for follow. We got a new follower on the channel, which is amazing. Welcome to the family. So yeah, all right. You know that it's really cool because that's why I also invited you. Not just because you live now your passion, and we will get to that, but it's also because you come from a different country, different culture, and that is always good to have an insight of that, to see actually maybe you start value something that you have right now more, or I always say if we inspire one person with this show, we did our job. If we inspire more, I know it's that much more fulfilling. So all right. So you were there. You come home being embarrassed, right, by the whole situation.
Yeah.
So where did you get the courage, or I would say the willpower to admit to your mom, all right, mom, this is what's going on?
Yeah, it was more than just my mom, first of all. I didn't tell any of my friends that I moved home either. I was so embarrassed. I failed, and I'm living with my mom, which I know is normal actually in a lot of countries, to live with your parents until you're married. But anyway, for me, I didn't tell her for 2 years, actually, what actually happened. But the first month that I moved back in with my mom, I got a job, and my employer is the one who sent me to the Landmark Forum. And
why did
why? Yeah, because he runs a real estate company, and he did the forum, and his assistant did the forum, and their communication in the workplace is phenomenal. And they just want everyone who joins the team to do the forum because people communicate better in the workplace when they do the forum.
All right, cool. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
So what did you find so different in their communication? Maybe, I mean, that's, you come into this new company, you get a job, and you see a type of communication you never experienced before. How did it occur to you?
They were just so straight with each other. Like, just so straight. Like, hey, did you do this? No, I didn't do it. Well, what are you going to put in place so that it gets done? Yeah, okay. You can count on me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? No drama? Like, it was just so straight.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And then you did the forum, and what then?
When I did the forum, actually, I didn't get this whole thing out of my space until the second time I did the forum 2 years later. But the first time when I did the forum, two things happened, or actually a lot of things happened, but I'll highlight two. One is that I finally broke up with the boyfriend I was living with. So at the time when I was doing the house flipping thing, I was in Los Angeles. I was living in Beverly Hills, and my rent was ridiculous. So I ended up moving in with a ex-roommate's ex-boyfriend who became a boyfriend by proximity. And I felt very stuck in that relationship. And so part of me running away back to the Bay Area was to get away from him, because I couldn't express myself in a straight way. All I could do was run away and avoid. Those were the only communication tools I had. So I broke up with him in the forum. And then the second thing was I quit the job, the employer who registered me for the forum, I quit on either Friday or Saturday. And then the following day during the dinner break, you're not supposed to go, off on your own, but I went for an interview during my break.
All right.
On Monday, I started my new job, and I'd been with that company up until I moved to Bulgaria last year.
All right. And what did you actually saw? Like, because you gave us the how your life, right? The background, right? And then you said, I'm living in Beverly Hills, right? With this guy in a stuck relationship. And I want to, I don't know, in Slovenia, not where I come from, or maybe, I would say it for it's like, we don't really know, like, we don't, because our biggest city, Ljubljana, is 350,000 people, right? That's the capital. It's like 2 million people in the whole city. So you don't really get that Beverly Hills, like the Beverly Hills, you know what I mean? It's like you have rich people here, right? But they're not rich as the guys you have there on Beverly Hills or stuff like that, right? It's like there are multi-billionaires there. We have multi-millionaires this week. I don't know if anybody is billionaire yet, So it's like the level of that is, I'm trying to get into the motion, like stand in your shoes, right?
Yeah. So back in Beverly Hills, what happened was the art dealer and we moved there, and I was living on his boat. He has a boat in the marina. And I was getting into relationships with the wrong people. So yeah, we were doing a business together. We had this relationship going on. It was just all not good. So I needed to get away from him, but I was homeless at the time. So I rented a place on my own, but the rent was like pretty cheap actually for Beverly Hills. It was like $1,000 for a room, which I know sounds a lot here. And then I needed someone's couch to stay on, and the first person to respond to me on Facebook was the ex-roommate's ex-boyfriend. And then he said to me, if you're going to stay with me, you have to have sex with me. And at the time I was so desperate, and I didn't know this at the time. He'd always fantasized about me when I was living with his ex-girlfriend. So I was desperate, and that's kind of how that relationship started. And yeah, I lost all of my self-esteem, I would say. I lost so much confidence being broke, being in back-to-back relationships that weren't good for me. And then not being able to express myself about it. And so what I got out of the forum, all I knew how to do was avoid, like I said, and withhold, just not talk about it. And in the forum, what I found was my voice, that I could actually say, no, this doesn't work for me, and this is what I'm creating instead. I was never able to say anything like that before. And that's when I got to say, I'm out of this relationship and I'm out of this job. Because this boss also, there was something, he was hitting on me, okay? And I didn't want to repeat the cycle again with another guy, because I was attaching myself to guys who would give me some kind of comfort, even if I wasn't in love with them, because it was that or no connection for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, and you said it before, right? It happens since the age of 14, like when, you know, sex for you is a tool to
Yep.
stay in a relationship, and that the guy doesn't leave and you get at least some closeness,
Exactly.
and which is better than none, right?
Exactly.
And then it's kind of like it's all obvious, and thank you for sharing like this openly, because that is like, you know, everybody can look into their lives and not everybody is gonna share your story, but you know, per se in the details, but we all have our emotions, how we don't deal with things, or we don't say things, or we want to say something but we don't because, you know, there is looking good, or you failed, or you're not good enough, or not right. So that always is there. So I'm really honored that you're sharing here so openly. That you know, it really means a lot, and it shows how big of a person you are, that you can speak now openly, free, right? So, all right, you changed the job, and what happened then after you changed the job? It's like I want to, you know, if you slowly get us into how did you find your passion. I know you probably have many passions now, but maybe how did you discover your first one and go after that? Like,
What I really loved about this company was that it was only 5 people. And even though I was an employee, I got to be very entrepreneurial. Um, and I had a steady salary. So I got to pay off my debt in a year. Um, I had during that time also, my little brother was living at home. And in the forum, I had a conversation with him where I was like, we haven't spoken. I haven't called you once in 3 years. And I saw when I was a child that I really resented him because he got it easy and I got it really hard. And I would give him the silent treatment. I would ignore him. And this was normal for me. So, first of all, I apologized to my little brother, and he didn't remember any of it anyway. He just saw
yeah.
me as a cool older sister. And we started actually hanging out. Like, he would invite me to the movies with his friends. And I'm like 7 years older than him. And like, I was the cool sister. So, that was really great. And then I had some conversations with my mom where I told her I loved her for the first time, and uh, just really spending more time with her and getting to know her as a friend. That made a really big difference. I never told her what happened still until much later, which I'll get to.
Yeah.
But there was more rapport and more sharing from our lives.
How
And
did
then,
that impact you, being right before you said I was very successful driven, fulfilling the measures, didn't care about the people? It sounds like something shifted on this point.
yeah, I guess I became more interested in relationships and I actually got to see the benefit of actually feeling connected with people. Yeah. Um, and then in my job, it was a very nurturing environment where I got to set my own pace and grow as much as I wanted. And I went in 2 years from the office manager to the director of marketing because of opportunities I created for myself and how much the company was willing to support my growth. So, what did you want to know about that?
No,
'Cause
I'm just, you know, I know it's like my show and I should lead it, but I'm like so interested in that. I'm like, you know, just keep on going.
okay.
You know, it's like nothing specifically that I want to know. I just want to, you know, how that shifted, and what directions did you then take on from that, being more
Yeah.
interested in relationships, and being in the company that actually cared about you, which is a funny thing, right? Before, probably, if I would guess, you will say you worked for companies who didn't really care about that much about their employees, but more about fulfilling measures, which
Yeah.
was perfectly for you at the time, right?
Yeah.
So now when you shifted your occurring, right, and you being more interested in relationships, suddenly you find a job at the company that actually is interested in their employees and how they're doing, that they're satisfied. It sounds like that. You now can confirm
It
it or
does
deny it.
sound like that.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, now that I'm like a very people person interested in connecting and all of that, I see that all of the people in the past have really cared about me, but I couldn't see it that way at the time. It's completely my filter.
Yeah.
So I'll fast forward to the part where I actually told my mom what happened just to
Mm-hmm.
complete that story. This was 2 years after I'd moved home, and I did the forum again. And it was a very mild experience. The first time it was very emotional, letting go of really deep, deep pains and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, a lot of healing. The second one was really, really mild, but I saw it's because I've let go of all those things and I got them complete for myself that all of this stuff that happened in the past isn't who I am today anymore. I'm a completely different person. But I never shared it with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got the courage to call my mom and tell her everything that happened. And she actually cried for 3 days because she thought she failed as a mother.
Yeah,
She
totally
made herself
reasonable,
so
right?
wrong.
Yeah.
But after that week, I would say our communication really, really shifted where
Mm-hmm.
there's a real intimacy. And she even shared with me times that I've hurt her that she's held resentment towards me about. Like, we've been talking about pretty deep things. And now
Mm-hmm.
we talk regularly, multiple times a week. And she asks me for advice too, which is
Yeah,
like
which is
really cool.
oh yeah, especially if we cover the background, right? You're Chinese, you should respect. Your parents are like demigods, right?
Yeah.
So now the demigod is asking me for advice, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that it's not no more, but because you to improve your relationship, deepen it to the intimacy level and open sharing, and it's not stuck in that box that
Yeah.
Chinese or Asian box is on the relationship.
Yeah.
So and that's really cool. And one thing I found it funny is how we still use this. Oh, it's a deep conversation or deep, right? Deep,
Huh?
which I never quite understand why we use this word deep, which is just basically these are the conversations that are valuable,
Yeah.
right? They're not deep conversations. These are the valuable conversations instead of conversations about who is better, Messi or Ronaldo, LeBron James or Michael Jordan, all that stuff, it's ordinary and it's out there and we talk about it and it's okay. It's nothing is wrong with that. But then when you go on personal level, it's like you often hear this, oh, we are in deep waters now.
Uh-huh.
And I'm always like, what deep waters, man? What does that make a difference from, that or this? Now, just that this will probably make a difference to everybody involved. So
Yeah.
just want to put that. And I want to say I don't know, maybe I'm this quiet because, I really get into the other person's culture. It's like Chinese and American, which are the two probably most influential on the planet by the number of people they cover or, we look up to on the global scale. And it's like I just have so much respect for you openly sharing so much that I'm lost with questions. I can admit that in some way, so that's why I'm just letting you go and go with the motions. Like for this talk show, there is no script. There's only one question: how are you as a teenager? And then it goes as it goes. And the intention is that we show how did you discover your passion and how did you live it and what you know we had Kate Tusha here last week. You know her as well, and she also shared that she didn't find her passion after her firstborn child was 1.5 years old, which was she was doing things because they needed to be done, or it's in order to, or it's expected of, right? Or she was driven by something, but not like being. And I just want to show that it's okay, even if you find it at the age of 50. It's okay as long as you are looking for it. And with this talk show, I want to give people that they find it sooner, and they live their passion, like preferably from right during this talk show they find it and they make a plan. This is how I'm gonna do it, so that they don't wait so many years and go through all the motions. But
Thank you, Rani, for
yeah,
doing that for all of your followers.
yeah, that is what I want to give to my community and wider. We're also putting the shows then on YouTube and sharing. It's all still young and fresh, but in year or two it's gonna be really big. So yeah, that is my word. That is the future I'm living into with this channel. So, all right. So you completed that with your mom, which it was kind of obvious, right? That she took it like that she is a bad mother, and that is another thing. I want to also give out there, and Kate was saying it also last week, is like how parents measure themselves by the success of the children, right? It's like, if my child is successful, I'm a good parent. If he is not, I'm a bad parent, which has not, one doesn't have to do with the other, like nothing, right?
Right.
Because your parents in that way did everything, right? And you finished good universities, right? You did everything like by the book, even better than by the book by the age of 20 finishing university. And then all that happens, right? So really thank you for sharing that. And yeah, if you're a parent, do not measure yourself by the success of your child.
One you got to give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right, and tell me, what did you and mom discover, right? If you would like, you probably had a conversation how your relationship was before and how is now.
I
So
remember,
yeah.
this is so funny. I was in one of the landmark courses and I was blaming my mom for why I didn't have a social life because I was living at home and she's strict. And somehow, I don't know what the leader said, but I saw I was actually blaming my mom for why I wasn't dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, huh, okay, it's time for me to have a conversation with her. I was so scared because I never talked to her about this stuff, right? And it was a good year for me because I hadn't dated in a year and I'd been dating ever since I was 14 with that first boyfriend. Back to back to back, always looking for the next person to cling on to because I needed to be connected to someone. So a full year of just being by myself with my mom, with my brother. And I sat down, I remember we were at the kitchen table and I said to her, what did I say? I said, Mom, I want to date.
All right. Like looking for a permission.
Yeah, like looking for permission. I'm like, and then my mom was like, Jen, like you're an adult. I know you've had boyfriends. And she named all of them.
Yeah.
Because moms just know everything. She could name all of my boyfriends. And then she's like, yeah, you're an adult. Now you live in my house. So I have rules if you want to bring anyone to the house. But I mean, yeah, you're my daughter. I want you to get married one day. Like, go have a boyfriend. I trust you. And I was like, what? I did not expect her to take it that way at all. And that
how did you expect it? What did you think will happen?
I was expecting her to be talking to her teenage daughter who was in, yeah, because that's how I still related to her. But yeah, it wasn't that way at all. So.
Right, it's funny how people can surprise you once you give up and actually get into conversation instead of thinking about it and knowing it, how it's going to happen, right?
I totally knew what she was going to say, and it wasn't that.
And then you were like, you know, it's fine. And then probably mind goes like, how can I bring the conversation that I confirm that it's going to go the way I want it to go?
Yeah.
I want it to go, right? So, yeah, all right. What did you discover? Like, what did you discover and what then happened? Yeah.
I discovered I could talk to my mom about dating, and I got in a relationship like probably a week after that conversation. And in this relationship, I was so committed to being a loving and loyal girlfriend, that I've never been before in another relationship. And a guy showed up and we dated for 10 weeks and we took a trip to Costa Rica and like I introduced him to my mom and, you know, all this stuff. And we weren't a good fit for each other. We broke up and I cried for 3 days, whatever. But I got to experience myself being the loving, loyal girlfriend I've always wanted to be for someone. So this gave me the confidence, like I can actually be in a healthy relationship. And the next guy who I ended up dating became my husband. So that was just kind of fast. I mean, I met my husband 2 weeks after breaking up with this guy. It's funny because he went through something similar. He did the forum. He signed up a week after we met because I brought him to one of my courses. And then in his course, he saw an event as a child where he saw two family members. I don't remember what exactly happened, but he made a decision that he can't trust women because of what he saw. He got that out of his face in the forum. And then he did the next course a month later where he can create anything with this blank slate that became available. And he was like, the girl that I'm dating, I'm really in love with her. I think I'm going to create getting married to her. And he said this like in front of 100-something people from the microphone. I'm not in that room, right?
Yeah.
So he declares this like 2 months after we met. And right after that course, he asked me to move in with him. And I was like, I have to have this conversation with my mom where I just met a guy 2 months ago and now we're moving in together. This is going to be awkward.
Yeah. Seeing all the obstacles, right?
Oh, my mom. So I had the conversation with her, and my mom said, it's kind of fast. I was like, oh no, you're going to say that. She's like, well, Jen, you're an adult. I trust you. If you think it's worth, if it's good for you, then he seems like a good guy. Like, I trust your judgment. I was like, really? Surprised again. So I move in with him, and then a month later, it's Christmas Day, and he proposed to me on Christmas Day. This is under 4 months from when we met. And the first thing he says, will you marry me? I said, are you serious, for about a minute, which was probably like 10 hours for him.
Yeah.
And
I
the
can
next
imagine. I can
yeah, right. And then the
imagine.
next thing I said was, what is my mom gonna think?
All the time.
And he said, your mom already knows. What? He's like, yeah, I asked her your permission. I asked your dad permission too. I was like, what? He's like, everyone's okay with it. You can, and I was like, okay. So my husband's Bulgarian, which is why I live here in Bulgaria today. And I can continue forward if.
Just maybe, we usually take relationship at the end, but you brought it here, so it's perfect the way it is. So what would you say is like, it's like the heart, or, what drives your relationship between you two, right?
Yeah.
Why are you two together anyway? It's
Well,
like,
one, he is very handsome, but that's not the only reason.
Okay, we stop there. Thank you, materialistic Jen. She all about looks.
Okay, when you go online though, that's the first thing you judge, right?
Oh, well, being human, that's how it is. If you don't like the person, you cannot kiss the person. Then somehow the thing stops there.
So why I love my husband is because I respect him and admire him. He also has really great family values. Like the way I've seen him interact with the nieces and nephews in his family, the way that he is with his parents, even when it's not easy, like he really takes care of his family, his sisters. He doesn't have anything in his space about money, which I kind of discovered much later because I'd always had something around, I don't have enough and I need to work harder to prove myself. And for him, he's just never had that around money. And I think finances is really important to get alignment on as a couple because it's one of the biggest things that breaks relationships. Definitely the communication is a big part of it and it's constantly evolving. Landmark has definitely been a huge positive impact on how we communicate with each other. And then just having agreements and games, keeping things fun. Like, I think our number one value is fun. Like,
all right.
Everything is fun. Like, let's go on a grocery date. Let's go on a banking date. Like, let's go on a register our car with the food agency date,
Okay, that sounds cool.
Yeah. And what else? I don't know. He's just he loves himself. Yeah. And I think that's really important is when someone loves themselves so much that you can really be yourself in a relationship. Yeah.
So, you will be also loved, accepted, respected, and but great thing that you shared. All right, so let's get into it. How did you discover your first passion then after all this, somewhere in between, it had to happen. No, because you have I saw a bestseller book. You were like, you are successful, a woman in life. So there's got to be something in it. Otherwise, you wouldn't smile so much. All right. So let's see what that is.
So the best-selling book was about that whole year of failures. If you're interested in ever reading it, you can post a link in the description. I think In one of the projects I did for Landmark, it was about taking leadership in a community. I decided that a group that I really wanted to make a difference for was the Asian American teens in the Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
growing up like I did, to actually have a forum to talk about generational differences with their parents and then also to openly discuss mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I became an advisor for a nonprofit focused around that topic. So um, that was a big purpose for me when I started discovering who I was as someone who can contribute and give back. And that was actually fulfilling. It wasn't to check a box or to look good. Because I did a lot of community service before, but it was like for my resume, how
Mm-hmm.
many hours I did, what leadership positions I had. And then in my real estate investment job that I had for 3 years, I created a platform. So we were selling a very niche investment, and we were always going to other trade shows promoting commercial and multifamily investments to people who are mostly investing in rental homes.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided, why don't we create our own platform that our target investors come to us instead of us, shotgunning all these other events. So I created the Bay Area Commercial and Multifamily Investment Club, the fastest growing real estate, you know, thing of its kind in the Silicon Valley as a 24-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
I had to give up, first of all, that I'm not credible, I'm not good enough, all those limiting beliefs. And I found a sponsor, I found guest speakers, I created a meetup, Facebook page,
Mm-hmm.
events, whatever. And it was just consistently drawing between 100 to 400 people a month. And I got to build my credibility, my network, and give back. And in that process, I discovered myself as I don't need to be the expert to be a contribution. Like, I am good at getting people together.
Mm-hmm.
People are, there's a word in Landmark, enrolled. People are enrolled in who I am.
Mm-hmm.
People want to follow me because I genuinely give something that's valuable. And so after I had that confidence, um,
Maybe I have just a
yeah,
thought or a question here, right? So, how would you define the passion that you discovered, right?
yeah,
From this, you did these two projects, and it seems like something is behind that gives these projects a
yes,
go, a success, a high rate of people being doing them or being involved in.
yeah,
So there must be some healthy, like because you weren't giving money. It would be understand that there is so much people if you would like give something for free, right? But here it wasn't. They actually had to pay, or they had to say yes to it and admit that they're having issues and stuff like that in that project with the teenagers, right? So, what was the purpose, the passion behind that?
community building. 2 words. I discovered my passion is in bringing communities together.
Hmm.
That's it. And after I moved to Bulgaria, I'm now the main organizer for all of the events for the expat community, for the entrepreneurs community, even a girls group. Like I just took on leadership and brought people together before I even knew who was who.
And you know what is great what you just shared, because I have a lot of conversations with a lot of different people, right? And a lot of people are saying, I am, let's say so to speak, I had this conversation with a friend today. I want to be as known as a coach, as somebody who gives up habits, mindsets, like all that, right?
Yeah,
And then I get that, right? But just like we know, that is not who you are. That is what you are doing.
right.
So in the other aspect, here you are. You're sharing like, uh, you know, community building, and then whatever project this is, you take it inside of that context. And I think that is so awesome. You know how to not limit yourself to because you could say I'm a real estate agent and you would only do real estate projects, right?
Mhm.
But that that's not who you are. That's what you're doing. Who you are is bringing community together. So you will take on anything, anywhere that needs to bring communities together. Just like you
Exactly.
said, I moved into Bulgaria, right? We will look into that, how it was for you actually to move into Bulgaria from US, which is, to be real, those are two different worlds in a, so to speak.
Mhm.
So I just really appreciate that because it's something that I want also to give to people. It's like, you know, you build up a context, and then whatever project it is, just doing it inside of that who you are, or you know what your passion is, right? If your passion is wood carving, then great, you find your direct passion, carve woods, and you know people who are doing it, they're doing so many good, like, you know, out of the box thinking with the wood that, you know, we would never come up with, because that's not our passion, right? So it's really like, it doesn't matter what it is, but inside of it you will play, you will get out of the box, you will bring, like you said, leadership. Once it's there, it's just like you cannot stop. It's like
it generates
yeah,
itself.
yeah, you can because it's so big now, you know, people know you. It's Jen is somebody who brings community, and even if you would be sitting at home, there will be an email coming, Jen, I need support into, you know, I want to bring this and that community together, can you assist, you know?
Yeah.
And you would say, of course, yes, because, you know, that's who you are. So that's really awesome that what you shared, like about that, you know. And you know, going through your Instagram, I saw you like to work out. Like, is that also a passion, or is that like because we know, you know, some people are having passion for that, and some people are doing it because they know it's healthy for their well-being. They don't really like it, but they still do it because it's, you know, the body needs movement.
Yeah, I'm on the second part. There's a way that I look that makes me feel good about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mostly to maintain my shape for myself.
Mm.
I don't actually really like the gym that much.
Yeah, and that's cool to admit, right?
Yeah.
You know.
But what I like is the feeling of being rigorous and disciplined and committed to myself, like being proud of myself. That's what I like about it.
Bye. Awesome, awesome. All right, so let's look into, right. You moved from the U.S.
Mhm.
to Bulgaria.
Yeah.
I mean, how come not the other way around? I mean, the
Yeah.
USA is the land of opportunities, so to
Oh my
speak, right?
God.
Yeah.
I've said this so many times on interviews lately, but the grass is green where you water it. I love California. It's amazing. And I'll tell you why I moved in a second. But there's this mentality here in Bulgaria. Oh my God, California, the place that everyone wants to go. There's like money growing on trees. Actually, there's just as many conversations about not enough money in the wealthiest parts of California as there are in the poorest parts of Bulgaria. It's a mindset. You will never, ever, ever be satisfied anywhere you go if you cannot be satisfied where you are now.
All right.
Yeah. And I tell people this all the time because I'm here because I love being here, you know? So why am I here? Um, on my wedding day, so my husband's family has had a 4-generation beekeeping business, family tradition, really. It's not even a registered business. And we got the papers to the farm on our wedding day. That's been, you know, it more symbolic, actually. His
Yeah.
parents just wanted to include me in the family and the properties. They didn't expect us to like move home and go farming, you know?
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. And at the time, my husband had a really great career. He's a cybersecurity engineer. I have my, you know, private equity real estate job. We're doing like, we're comfortable, you know?
I
But
mean, so the sounds of it is like you're making shit ton of money. No, I'm joking, but
I mean, we made a good
yeah,
living. We
yeah.
were still surviving by Bay Area standards, but um, just to give you an idea, a 1-bedroom apartment is $2,500, not even in the city.
All right.
Yeah,
So me and Usha are living in two bed. Yeah, I'm not gonna go there. It's okay.
exactly.
It's
So
like you would rent a whole house in Slovenia for that. So
exactly.
I mean, not in every area. There are apartments which are really expensive. It's, you know, it's not that we are that part of a country. I didn't want to represent that. It's
Yeah.
just that, you know, through that there is a difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just kind of ready for an adventure, I guess. And I just saw this as an opportunity because for me, it was so painful what I went through when I failed 3 times at trying to be an entrepreneur that I made a decision that I'm not going to do it again. It's just too painful if I fail again. I'd better not try. But the thing is, when I was working at this job all 3 years, I was like, I just attract opportunities. And I'm always like, regretting I didn't go for it. Like, I should have just taken a risk and right? And I was like, this honey thing is probably the safest thing I could do because I have enough savings where I can live in Bulgaria with no income for a while. It's a family business. We have a whole team involved, a family tradition, and it's just really cool, like that I get to have a relationship with my family in law. Like, what a unique opportunity, right? And then lastly, my husband and I, yeah, we have great careers, which means we're at work all the time.
Yeah, okay.
We come home, we have dinner, we're too tired for sex sometimes, like it's just, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin.
Yeah, exactly. So, having a business with my husband would mean like I get to be with my favorite person in the world most of the time. I was like, yeah, I'll quit my job. I said it. And then he was like, what? So I actually quit my job first and I started interning for a beekeeper and learning beekeeping in English because my in-laws don't speak English. And then he quit his job about 9 months later, right before we moved. And we moved exactly 1 year ago, end of November last year.
All right.
Yeah.
It's like, sounds like all right. You completed there. You needed to complete something in you about the failure of business, right?
Yeah.
And it's also another thing, like, right, how big is that for you? Like, because it sounds like that up until that point you were living with quite a lot of regrets of the opportunities you didn't take and you were afraid to risk, right? Of the possibility of a failure. So so how actually big was this step for you? Even you said it like it's probably the safest thing, but it is still scary because it's, you could fail at it.
I think I got more scared after I arrived and I saw how different it is to do business here. Like I thought things were going to be a lot easier. There's huge inefficiencies with the bureaucracy. There's corruption. There's obviously the language barrier, the culture barrier, and we have like a ton of breakdowns all the time. It's not easy like it is in the US. Um, so I think actually making the move was exciting for me, and then after I got here was the scary part. Yeah.
So how it was this cultural shock that usually hits people when they move to the other country or other side of the world?
For me, I would say the biggest part was actually loneliness because when we first moved here, we spent a month with his family. It was Christmas. And I'm comfortable with his family. They're in a small town, you know. After that, we went on our honeymoon, which we delayed for a year because we've been too busy preparing for the. And then when we came back from the honeymoon, Bulgaria got locked down from COVID. And I hadn't made any of my own friends. And the only person I knew was my husband, and he started doing cybersecurity consulting, contract work. And as you know, during COVID, all the businesses that went online need cybersecurity services.
Yeah.
So we did well financially, but I was lonely, so lonely. And I didn't know, I wasn't independent, I didn't even know how to do my own groceries. That was intimidating. Like, there's like 200 types of yogurt. I don't know how to buy yogurt. Like,
All right.
I don't know which eggs are free range and which chicken doesn't have antibiotics. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, because you don't know the language, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the worst part was feeling dependent or like I couldn't be independent and I had no friends. Yeah, that was hard.
All right. So how did you then deal with all these situations?
Yeah, so I was so depressed that I would like not even look my husband in the eyes over meals, like just not wanting to wake up. And I just got so freaking sick of waking up every day, not looking forward to my day anymore. I got sick of it one day because that's not who I am. And I decided to start getting really active on the Facebook group for expats in my local city, Plovdiv.
Yeah, can you explain what that is? Expat?
Expats, expatriates. It just means
expatriates.
foreigners. Yeah.
Oh, foreigners. All right. Okay.
Foreigners in my city, Plovdiv. I started just engaging on the Facebook. I started using Zoom to call my friends back home and just getting in communication again. And that brought me out of my own head, which helped. And I got so active on the Facebook group that when Bulgaria reopened again in May, I started meeting some of these people in person, and the admins invited me to become an admin for the whole group, which is like, 5,000 people. Really, really strong community. It's the kind of community where you could say, hey, I'm out for the weekend. Is there someone who can help me feed my cat and water my plants? I'll give you the keys. Like that kind of tight community.
And in the range of 5,000 people, that is like, yeah, really something special, right?
It's so special. I actually joined the Facebook group before I moved to the city, and I think the Facebook group was actually what made me feel comfortable with the city in particular. Not all the groups are like that. So I became an admin for this group, and I remember when I first became an admin, all of the other admins were wanting to quit because there are people just like me.
Awesome.
They love community. They're missing human connection. Like we haven't had that in a long time. And they're just like, hi, I give up. This is too hard. Like, no. I'm like, wait. Don't leave. Nobody leave. So anyway, we have a strong team now. And like, I just started causing events and things for people to get together. And when we got locked down again, Zoom events, like just,
Yeah.
And I haven't felt lonely since. This is going to sound really weird for most people, but I think my social life this year has been the best it's ever been my whole life.
Yeah, quite frankly, it maybe sounds weird, but it's in a way, it's also like, when you are meeting on Zoom, it's like, you're now in my apartment, I'm in your apartment, right? It's like you let people in intimately without even like thinking about that you're letting them in, right? So it's like it's experience on a whole another level, right? And then you have just a camera and you see this much. Okay, I have more background so you can wander around. It's because I'm a streamer, and that is kind of a cool stuff for a streamer to have, so people can see and ask why the Bulls hats, why the Deadpool mask and stuff like that, right? So yeah, I'll answer you if you're interested, but it's like there's not so many informations, and when you're out, there's cars driving, people walking by, so many infos that you can be hooked on, right? Here it's just me and you, so now we're gonna talk. So it's like, do we talk about the weather? Well, we can, but it is what it is because we are not let outside anyway. I mean, you can go outside, but it's like you need to have a mask, it's not that comfortable, stuff like that. So you're not gonna talk about that for a long time, right? So you can be either complaining, but then it's like it gets boring after 5 or 6 times, I would suggest. So then you start having real conversations, and that makes a whole different experience.
I have a lot less boring conversations now.
Yeah, right. But it's like when you said it, that opportunity that opportunity came. And it's like, you were, all right, Jen who brings community together. You were connected back, right?
That and then being creative. I think that's always been somewhere deep down. But my honey company is my self-expression. Like I am my honey company. I'm a storyteller. I get to tell the story of this country, of my family-in-law. I'm just gonna say my family because it is my family, really.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
And like if you see our marketing, like everything's hot pink. Like, actually, this is my little logo here. It's a bee with a heart. Like, it's just freaking fun and like.
Oh, I like it on one picture. Yeah, it really is in there because I saw that one picture and it was like a drawing of a bee, and then it says yourself.
Be yourself.
And then I'm like, be yourself, and I'm like, yeah, of course, it makes awesome, right? And it's just like, I guess you find your passion when you were young, being creative. It just wasn't maybe expressed in the way that it would actually flourish, right?
Yeah.
And that is another point that I want to give out is like we are exposed to what we are good at young age, like from the age of 2, probably when the memory comes up and you're starting to discover things. There are things that you did and your heart just sank while you were doing that, even if it was just for 2 seconds. and then you suppress it because no, I'm not allowed to do that. That is not good. I'm not gonna have a job. All these stories you can put on so that you suppress that. But we all had that kind of experience for at least a glimpse, if not for a couple of minutes or hours or maybe a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just don't do it. It's like then you find it, you have to move to Bulgaria and then start being all creative, and now it's like flourishing. But if I would ask you, I bet that you would find a moment in your childhood when you were also like that, at least for a few seconds probably, if not minutes or hours. So it's just so freaking awesome. Right? How is all the time there with us?
Huh?
How is all the time there with us, and then you need to be courageous to start living it, right? So it's so awesome, right? So your passion is bringing community together and being creative, and it's also great, right? Your purpose in life or passion is being creative. So it's no matter the project that you are taking on, you will express being creative, right? So it's not about what you are actually doing, but it's about, my passion is being creative. So if you will put a relationship at me, I will be creative in a relationship. If you will throw a beekeeping at me, I will be creative in that. If you will throw, I'm in there in Bulgaria with the people, I don't know, what can I do about it? I'll be creative with that.
Yeah.
So.
And then a third one that I've been discovering more in the last year is I am still very passionate about performance and results. I've been very results driven my whole life, but the place that comes from today is more from what would make me satisfied and happy and proud of who I am, rather than what do I need to do, what should I do, how do I please another person or look good, right? So something I've been doing since lockdown happened was actually coaching people, like life coaching in the area of performance, and helping people see what has them get stuck, get it out of the way so that they can actually be in action to produce the results they want.
Yeah, awesome, right? It's like, and did you do any, like, I would say, I mean, because I'm also doing that with teenagers. I'm a mentor of 101, and they have like brilliant results with the ones that I worked with. And it's like, did some school for that? Did you have any paper legally, or you're doing that because you're good at it?
The school of life,
Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah. Actually, this is a really good question, Irene. When I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I thought entrepreneur means fame and like looking good, and I'm gonna take the actions I need to be that. But with the coaching, it's actually come the other way around, where who I've been is a coach, is a contribution, helping people overcome things and be happy, And I decided, like, why not just make it official? And I am going to get certified next month, actually, in NLP coaching.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, and then also, of course, all the years I've done with Landmark as well.
But I think but it's like with Landmark is you don't get the certificate. It's just that, yeah.
Certification of life.
Yeah, you get everything else. Yeah, that is also what I'm dealing with in a level, like, right? It's like, how then I justify, right?
It helps.
Yeah. It's just like, it's cool to have a paper for that. So here you go. I do that, right? I just do it because I have bachelor in economics, so I don't know, financial advising, or all the thing I can put on. So it's like I advise teenagers on finances, which actually I advise them in life. Finances is part of life. So yeah. How to say my not excuse, but how I qualify it, or I don't know how to say it. So yeah, I mean, we kind of came to the end. There is more things we could cover and stuff like that, but in a way we show the intention is fulfilled. So anything else you want to like share about or say here, or it's like what you're left with?
One closing thought is I have not arrived, and you will never arrive. Just because I'm happy where I am today and I've discovered myself as a creative community building contribution for people, that's just where I am now. And life is, it keeps going. It's not a destination to get to, is what I want to leave people with.
And perfect points, right? this is it. So you can either be happy about it or sad. It won't make a difference. This is it.
Good.
Yeah, right. So awesome, right? Well, Jen, thank you for saying yes, for being my guest, our guest in this talk show. And like I said before, we will put it on YouTube. You'll be able to share it with your people. I think it would also make a big difference for everybody you will coach. Like, you can use it in a way. Hey, so who are you? And you go like, yeah, just watch this show, and then you will know. So then you choose. No,
I don't know if I'm comfortable
yeah,
about sharing that first
yeah.
part with everyone, but maybe a few people.
Yeah, I mean, it will be on YouTube, so people will saw it. But I mean, look, I know that you are not maybe comfortable with, right? But it will make a huge difference.
I
It,
understand.
it's like, there is a lot of teenagers out there who did that or experienced that, and it made a scar for life. And some of them, never really dealt with it in a way that it will that they can go beyond that and find loving and loyal, being loving and loyal. It's just there in the place, having them owned. Yeah. So I think that's really cool thing that you shared that, and that I my guess here, but not my guess, my invitation here is that you're proud of it.
Mm-hmm.
I share it proudly. Look, I went through that, and now I'm here. Do you get the
I am proud.
magnitude, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really a magnitude to move, right? From that thing that basically you were set for life, using sex as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great tool to use in today's world. so, but yeah, once you discovered it's a tool to not fulfill you, just awesome. So, Jen, thank you. Thank you everybody for watching. So there's chat says, Karina says, amazing talk show. Thank you both. Jennifer, thank you for your vulnerability. It is inspiring. And you have a gorgeous smile.
I
So,
smile a lot now.
so Karina said, I would love to read your book on failures.
Mm-hmm.
So can you give us a title?
Yeah, it's actually a book I co-authored called The One Thing That Changed Everything. It's on Amazon, and my chapter is, I think like chapter 10 or something like that in the book.
Alright.
Yeah.
So there you go. The One Thing That Changed Everything. It's on Amazon. And chapter 10, Jennifer. It's not Katsev at that time, is it?
It's my maiden last name, Zhang, yeah.
All right. Jennifer Zhang. So there you go. There you go, Karina and the rest of you guys. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Have a lovely evening, everybody. Otherwise, we see you tomorrow on this stream. There will be a Call of Duty action with viewers. There are a couple of, that's also part of what I do. Besides contributing in this way, giving, other people's life and what they went through, and you can actually move your life in the direction you want. It's also, that's part of me. I like to game, and I love to game with community, and we do tournaments together. So you guys know on Saturday, I hope so. Assassino, do you know? DBS, did they say anything about Saturday? We're just so anticipation because we won once, and now we're like, we set ourselves a 3-month goal. Let's give it all in and see what comes of it. So yeah, we played 3 hours, won a tournament, earned 500 euros. That's not a bad deal. So, that's why. So yeah, and then on Sunday, there will be a talk show in Slovenian with Nina Geric, who is a former professional dancer. She still is actually professional dancer. She is what is it? She produces her own wine, and is also an entrepreneur. So I think she just opened a new coffee shop like earlier this year, which is one of her big dreams. So I don't know her personally. I know just that she's a dancer, and I used to be. But it's gonna be amazing. So that's it. Once again, chat, thank you for being here. See you tomorrow. And Jen, we see you also soon. We're anyway involved in this great thing, being introduction leaders and having classroom work days and assisting together. So it's a pleasure being in a team with you. And
Likewise.
yeah. I'm always lost what to say in the end, so I'm just gonna, cut it here. So,